Hey, I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex. I spent last week at Origins Game Fair in Ohio, and I saw a lot of games that are either currently on crowdfunding sites or soon to be on crowdfunding sites. And I've never done a video like this before where I run through multiple, Kickstarter games, but I've also never seen this many Kickstarter games back to back in one location before. At previous cons, I've seen games that are soon to come out, but I haven't seen this many that I know that are coming to Kickstarter. So I felt like it kind of deserved its own video. These are 10 great games that I saw at Origins that are either right now on crowdfunding or soon to be on crowdfunding. And I haven't done this before because, I focus my channel on retail releases that you can go out and get right now. But if you are somebody that likes supporting games on Kickstarter, then maybe you'll find something cool in this video, because I definitely found some stuff that's cool at Origins, and I want to talk about it more because I'm on the hype train. 44 BCE is on Kickstarter right now, only for a few more hours depending on when you're watching this video. It's from Grey Forest Games, and it's a game set in like ancient Roman Empire, and the game mixes Euro elements with negotiation and alliance, and it was very interesting. It's definitely big. It takes up a lot of the table space and things like that, but I like the mix of the Euro aspects with the negotiation because there's a lot of thinky elements to the game, but there is still sort of that social aspect where you're trying to figure out what somebody else is going for and trying to form alliances to screw over somebody else, or make teammates out there and stuff. But are you gonna backstab your teammates, like Brutus did to Julius? That's a thing in Rome. It might happen in this game. Like I said, this is only, depending on when you're watching this is only on Kickstarter for probably a few more hours. So if you want to check it out more, then go there pretty immediately. And if you like the idea of a game set in ancient Rome that has a lot of backstabbing elements in it and stuff like that, check out 44 BCE. Also on Kickstarter right now is The Finest Fish. This game also closes this week in a few days, so if you like the sound of it, go check it out pretty soon. This is a tile drafting and laying game, but instead of like normal tiles, it's fish scales. You are drafting fish scales and then adding fish scales to your fish board. Literally, the board looks like a fish, and you're getting points based on, putting things in certain patterns or getting certain colors, that sort of stuff. It's definitely a family weight style game. You could play this with your kids and stuff like that, but it seems pretty fun. I love the production of it. The idea of adding fish scales to your fish board is pretty fun. This is from Last Night Games, who also did the award-winning Life of a Chameleon. So if you want to check this one out, if you like tile drafting games and you want a kind of a unique way to do it, then check out The Finest Fish. Also on Kickstarter right now, currently, is Journey Adventure Quest, also known as Jack. This will be on Kickstarter for another few weeks, so you have a little bit more time for this one. This is a 2 to 6 player game that plays in about an hour, so it's nice. It's a strategy game, but it's nice that it has up to 6 players. Journey Adventure Quest is a card drafting set collection game, but one of the unique things about it is you start stacking your cards offset a little bit, and then you add up powers and abilities. You're essentially building a character. You're getting cool special abilities through your weapons and your armor and things like that. So you're sort of gearing up your character. But the bad guys also gear up in the game. You will be you'll be stacking cards for the bad guys too, so the bad guys level up throughout the game. So, it's got really fun artwork in it too. It's kind of bright and vibrant and fun, kind of that whimsical cartoony art. But, I love the idea of stacking cards to level up characters, so that's why this one caught my attention. Go check it out on Kickstarter. Starting on Kickstarter later this week, and maybe even right now by the time you are watching this, is Septima from Mindclash Games. So Mindclash Games is known for having very heavy, long, crunchy, Euro-y type of games. And they sold Septima as, this is a 2-hour Mindclash game. It has all the crunchiness and the tough decisions of some of their other games, but you can play this game in much fewer hours than a lot of their other games. You know, you can play it in 2 hours, which for me is about my limit for games. You know, maybe I'll sneak in a 3-hour game every once in a while, but that's about my limit. Septima, the art and the color scheme is awesome, man. I sat down and demoed this one, and it's hard to ignore because it just looks so cool on the table. But the theme is also really cool. Septima is like the leader of a witch's coven, and she is retiring, stepping down, and so now the witches are competing to see who takes over the coven. In the game, you are moving around the board, getting ingredients, using those ingredients to make potions, using those potions to heal people, all while trying to avoid suspicion from the townfolk. And there will be witches that go on trial, so then you're also trying to manipulate the trials and things like that. There's a lot going on, but it all like thematically connects to, you know, witches building up their coven and trying to avoid suspicion. One of the things that keeps the game playing decently quickly is there is simultaneous action selection. Everybody's going to play a card, and that card is going to, determine what you can do for that round. And one of the interesting things about the game is if you play the same card as somebody else, well, you actually get a cooperation bonus. You get to do something cooler because you played the same thing as somebody else. But even though you get to do that cool thing, it also raises your suspicion level. And when your suspicion level gets too high, bad things happen. So there's a real push and pull of whether you want to do something that someone else is doing or not. And I don't know, I'm really excited about this one. I haven't played any Mindclash games before because they've all been too much for me. So I'm excited to finally play one. This is one that I can definitely get behind and enjoy. Bitewing Games is releasing onto Kickstarter Trailblazers. This will probably be up around August. This is a great card laying game, tile laying game where you are building pathways. It comes from the designer Ryan Courtney, who has sort of made a name for himself on these pathway games, stuff like Curious Cargo. But a lot of his other games were fairly heavy, complex games. This is a bit of a lighter game. This is a pathway game that you could play with, you know, family and casual gamers and things like that. So I'm excited about it for that reason. One of the other cool things about the game is they have a box version of the game that plays 1 to 8 players, but they also have a small mini version of the game that you can take traveling and you can take camping and things like that. I mean, it's designed literally so that you can take it camping, and that one plays 1 to 4 players, but it's still like the base version of the game. So it's cool. It's a cool idea to combine those things like that. You are essentially putting cards down and trying to build loops from campsites, and you get points the longer the loops that you can build, but if you don't close your loop, you don't score any points. There are also a few expansions that come with it. One of them adds these cool animal tokens to the game, these little standees. Another one adds adventurers to the game that sort of, you know, change the gameplay. And I believe all of those expansions are going to come sort of right in the same box when you buy it. It's not like you're going to wait for other expansions. So if you want like a pathway building game that's not crazy hard to get into and plays in about 30 minutes, then Trailblazers looks pretty cool. All right, we also have Lunar Rush is probably coming to Kickstarter around September. This is from Dead Alive Games, and I actually had a chance to sit down and play a full game of this, and it's really cool. It is definitely a Euro-y type of game. You are in charge of a corporation, and you are sending ships to the moon to mine moon material and bring it back and earn money and, you know, points and stuff like that for bringing stuff back. The game is really all about timing. So each side of the board has 3 pathways. One's a short pathway, one's a medium pathway, and one's a long pathway. You can load your long stuff up with more goods, but it's going to take more time for that to pay off for you. So there's a lot of really interesting timing decisions. Do I need this benefit now? Can I hold off and play a long game? You know, it's a game that I played and really enjoyed, but I feel like I want to play it more because there's so much to explore. There's just a lot to learn in the game. You know, I feel like I got enough, I got a taste, and now I want to have a bigger bite. You know, you got to break me off a bigger bite of Lunar Rush because I liked what I saw, but I only got a nibble. Let me have more, Lunar Rush. So yeah, if you like sort of simultaneous play and stuff like that, Lunar Rush is really interesting, and it's all about timing. It has more interesting timing decisions than most games I've played in the past. So that's what makes me excited about it. All right, most likely in October, Timewarp Warriors from Mega Mint Games is coming to Kickstarter. This is a 2-player only game, and it uses one of the things that I think is the most underutilized in board games, and that is meeple rolling. I think meeple rolling is so fun, you know? You grab a fistful of meeples, you throw them down, and depending on which way they land, you get different cool special abilities. And that's what Timewarp Warriors is. You are essentially rolling meeples and then fighting one other person. You can win the game by dealing a certain amount of damage or by pushing them off the board. So whatever position the meeples land in, you know, you can... Yeah, if it lands one way, that's a punch. If it lands one way, that's a kick. If it lands one way, that's a block. And so you get to use them in different ways. The way they described it, which I thought was a really good way to describe it, is it's Pass the Pigs meets Street Fighter. And it just seems super fun. And you know, it's a game you can play in 20, 30 minutes. 2-player, just sort of rolling meeples and fighting, and I'm really on board with it. And it's one that I feel like I would, every time I played it, I would play it 2 or 3 times because you can just play it quickly and it's super addicting to roll meeples. So that one's coming out probably in October. Also in October, Ludimus Games is releasing We're Sinking. And one, I love the artwork and the look of this game. That's one of the things that got me most excited. It's just fun and bright and whimsical and stuff like that. It is a semi-cooperative game, and I know that some people get nervous when they hear semi-cooperative, but it doesn't have like a hidden traitor or anything like that. It's semi-cooperative because the ship is literally sinking, and there are 2 win conditions. You can either win by saving yourself, or you can win by saving the ship. And so somebody might tell you that they're going to work with you on saving the ship, only to backstab you and try to scram out of there before it sinks. So it's semi-cooperative because you're sort of doing things and you can do them together, or you can lie and, you know, screw somebody over. And I like that idea. One of the coolest things about it production-wise, too, is the ship is literally made in 4 parts. So as the ship is sinking, you remove the bottom part of the ship, and now literally the ship is smaller, is lower to the table, and then another round goes by, and you take another part of the ship off, and now it's lower still, and so it literally looks like the ship is sinking on the table, and man, that's just super cool and fun to me. So that one's coming in October. Then also most likely around October is Maple Valley from Kids Table Board Games. Maple Valley is a sequel to the game Creature Comforts that came out in early 2022. It's not an expansion, it's a standalone game, but it's set in the same world as Creature Comforts. And I loved Creature Comforts. It's definitely challenging for my top 10 games of 2022 list. Maple Valley is a different type of game though, whereas Creature Comforts was a worker placement game. They call Maple Valley a worker movement game. So you are literally moving workers along pathways and then taking special benefits at different points along the pathways and then using that to build cards and stuff like that. it's got the same adorable artwork as Creature Comforts. So if you want a bunch of cuddly critters in your game, well then Maple Valley has that on lockdown. So many cuddly critters in this game. I mean, it makes me want to play it just for that. You know, I want to give a fox a hug. Who doesn't want to hug a fox? This one is 1 to 5 players as well, and probably plays in about an hour. And then lastly, the number 10 game that I wanted to bring up with you. These weren't ranked in any particular order. I was going through them based on a chronological timeline when they're going to be on Kickstarter. So I was excited by all 10 of these games for different reasons. So the last game I have on my list is Forges of Ravenshire from BA Games. So Forges of Ravenshire is a dice placement game, but it's interesting because, you know, in a lot of dice placement games, you place a dice, you get a benefit, and that's kind of the end. But in this game, you place a dice, you get a benefit, but then you're also going to move the dice over to another board and then get more and more benefits there. So yeah, the number of the dice might matter here, but then the color matters when you move it onto another board. So there is also an engine building aspect to it. You want to be thinking, there's definitely a lot to think about, you know, because it's not enough to just go, oh, I want that number. It's like, okay, can I use that color when I go into my production phase here? And it's Forges of Ravenshire because you are trying to produce, you're blacksmiths and you're trying to produce stuff, and so who can do that in a more efficient way? It definitely is pretty crunchy, you know, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of choices and stuff like that, so I imagine it's gonna, you know, the play time is gonna be probably a couple of hours for this one, but it does look really cool, and I like the sort of unique take on dice placement here. So yeah, that's what I got. You know, those are the games I saw at Origins that are coming to crowdfunding platforms soon or currently. So if you like the sound of those, go check them out. And, you know, they seem all pretty cool to me. So that's why I wanted to go through this and talk about games that are coming to Kickstarter and stuff like that. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate you watching these videos. You know, it would be weird if I was just talking all this stuff into a vacuum. You're the reason I do it, so thank you so much for being here. I'm Grant with Grant's Game Rex.